Welcome back to the show. We got another great one lined up. Guess what? Department of Homeland Security just got sued over who the four Satoshis are. We got that and a flywheel effect report that equals $19 trillion from Ripple. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You could join us in the Freedom Zone. Just hit the join button under any YouTube video title and come on in for almost next to nothing, or join us in the Patreon group as well for the same content. All daily videos, zero Google ads, as well as extra content inside. And during a time like this, it is important that we touch on all things going on in the markets, not just crypto. Join us in the Freedom Zone. $2.59 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 6.5%. Bitcoin 78,800 plus. Oh my gracious, breaking below 80,000. Ethereum 1,500 plus. XRP $1.89. We're off 9.2 on the 24. We're off 9.4 on the 7-day. Oh, we've got some news today. Even though the market's down, ranging between 163 and 209, we're sitting at 189. I can tell you this has come off the floor in the last hour. I just bought the dip again. Yeah, I bought the dip again. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, you know the tune if you're old enough. Anyway, 175. I got it right around 175. Might have been 173, but nonetheless, I got that dip, and I'm damn glad I got it. Now, I broke down very heavily in the first video this morning about the 589 COMEX rule because there's been so many markets worldwide that have been affected. And the 589 COMEX rule is a circuit breaker rule that exists in the futures market for commodities, and it can be used in other areas too, like stocks and stuff. If there's a huge run on the market, they can put these circuit breakers in place, and that way to ensure that a collapse can't happen, all the way in one day. It'll cause the markets to halt, then go to a trading halt, a freeze, and then there's a set of rules about how they reintroduce and open up the markets from there. And it's pretty interesting because we've seen so many markets actually collapsing and wiped out. We know that Taiwan, for instance, has had to use these circuit breakers in their own market, and it is anticipated that others will do the same. I want to show you this because this is from the first video I ever made on YouTube for this space, and it was about the 589 COMEX rule. Take a listen.
Another thing that I wanted to also mention is that aside from the COMEX rule itself and XRP, it could be that the COMEX rule could get used in oil, gold, and silver because it is a rule that is for the entire commodities market. So it can be used for anything in commodities that begins to run away, like hyperinflation due to a global reset on the dollar, which would cause precious metals to spike through the roof, and oil as well. That could be something that's doing, that's reference to that as well. There's many things that are here that this could be implying or whatever, and I hope I don't seem like I'm rambling because there's a lot here, and I just want to get a conversation going about it, and I want to get more eyes and more ears on this information so we can be better informed as a community.
No question about it. And that's exactly what this is about. And I will take President Trump's Great Reset over the World Economic Forum reset any day of the week. The 589 COMEX rule can be used to halt markets, but don't forget, we're still waiting for gold audit at Fort Knox also. What will that reveal? A repricing of gold? Has it been oversold? Is the right amount of gold even there? You have to think about these things. I say to you, European Union says it's ready to discuss 0 for 0 tariffs with the United States of America. Hello, the tariffs are working. You have to remember while this is happening, the equity wash that we're seeing, right? All the stocks bleeding heavily, the markets are bleeding. All of this is because of the tariffs. Now we know we're waiting to hear from the Federal Reserve today, who may be slashing rates because of this happening, because of the tariffs. But here's a little secret many people aren't aware of. President Trump has to renegotiate the debt of this country this year. Well, if he has the equity markets bleed like this and it forces the Fed to cut rates, then he, the president, can refinance our debt before the year's over at a lower interest rate, while at the same time using tariffs as leverage to bring manufacturing back home to prepare for the boom. At the same time that we're seeing all of this happen, the tariffs bringing manufacturing back home, look at what we're watching here. The market's bleeding to force the Fed to cut rates. This allows Trump to renegotiate and refinance the debt of the country because President Trump is there to refinance the bankruptcy and restructure the bankruptcy of the United States of America and set us up for the next 150 years of growth. That's what I see happening. And people are screaming at the heavens, but the reality is it's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. And this is how you get the world to come to the table so you can restructure the problems that have got us to where we are today. It's the only way to fix it. Meanwhile, Brad Garlinghouse explains very well in one of these conferences he's attended here. I want you to listen to this about the public and private ledgers and how he describes bringing all the money, the repositories, the banks, financial institutions. The only way to get access to the real liquidity of the world is to have those institutions and banks on your ledger.
One of the first banks that Ripple signed, so today we have a product in market that's, we're releasing version 4. When we launched version 1.0, which is always an exciting time for a tech company, you release a product, it's version 1.0. We launched that product, we were partnered with one of the largest banks in the Middle East, and we went to market and we went live. And we had a call from a very upset Middle Eastern banker saying, wait a minute, people can see my transactions. I don't want people to see my transactions. So look, blockchain is powerful and a public ledger can be leveraged to make transactions, but banks, I mean, if every SCB transaction was written to a public ledger, would SCB be excited about that? The answer is no, I'll tell you very certainly. The nature of how we have evolved our technology, yes, some of it, XRP is a public open ledger. A different part of Ripple's technology that connects banks to the liquidity solutions, these are private, think about it almost as a private temporary blockchain between two banks. It's cryptographically signing the transaction, holding it in escrow and releasing it at the same time, so you never have a situation where a transaction doesn't complete. But the point I would make is, those who espouse this idea of, look, all transactions should be open, I look at that and I think, that is not the real world. We can talk about the origins, particularly around Bitcoin and to some of the degree other tokens, has been this idea of, hey, we're going to circumvent governments. We don't want the government involved. We're going to circumvent banks. Look, Ripple, we come at it from exactly the opposite point of view. Governments aren't going away. By extension, banks are definitely not going away. We can enable banks to enable an internet of value. If you want to enable an internet of value, you have to connect the repositories of value. The repositories of value are the banks. We want to work with the banks, with financial institutions, with payment providers, with Linlin Pay or PayPal or fill in blank, to dramatically accelerate the nature of how payments occur today and reducing that friction.
And boy, are you going to hear from Ripple again before this video is over, and they're going to tell you about how dramatic it's going to be. Oh my gracious, Dubai Land Department has commenced its foray into fractional ownership of real estate using tokenization. Oh boy, it's coming. And by the way, Pakistan, who's been waffling back and forth on crypto, has just appointed former CEO CZ Binance as the strategic advisor on crypto there. So they're getting ready to get in big. The SEC has ruled that USDC and USD Tether are not securities, marking a pivotal shift in the crypto regulation. However, there is still the issue about whether Tether will be allowed and given clarity upon stablecoin regulation. We've highlighted very clearly that foreign issuers of Tether, according to the Stable Act in the House, will be pushed out of the U.S. market for at least the first 2 years. We'll see what happens from there. But the other key insights from this article lead us here. The U.S. SEC just announced that certain U.S. dollar-backed stablecoins are not considered securities, which is good because money is a commodity, right? Currencies are a commodity, and that's the way it should be looked at. However, these assets include stablecoins designed to maintain one-to-one values with the U.S. dollar and can be redeemed for U.S. dollars at any time. Stablecoins are one of the fastest growing market sectors, expanding by 11% since the beginning of the year and 47% over the last 12 months. The exception to this rule is that if an issuer pays holders interest, the stablecoin immediately becomes a security. And that's where the fight still is, where you have industry leaders still trying to get Congress to make it okay for stablecoin issuers to allow their customers to experience the benefits of yields on stablecoins. So far, right now, that has not been the case, and they say it's dead on arrival. But crypto industry leaders are still working to urge Congress to do that. We will see where it goes from there. So now, with that being said, let's keep moving. Don't forget about the real USD as well. I want you to hear a reminder from the first White House Crypto Summit and the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Take a listen.
And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. And as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that. Thank you. And
there you have it. Now, with that being said, you got to get to this. They're going to rush through stablecoin legislation to soak up all those treasuries that countries are about to dump. There's a lot of countries really upset about the tariffs, and the stablecoins are there to act as a bulkhead to soak up all of those bonds coming home. A new use case. By rushing through laws like Stable Act and Genius Act, Congress could create a framework where private issuers are incentivized or required to hold substantial treasury reserves. This would effectively create a new domestic demand pool to soak up excessive supply. The Trump administration, with its support for crypto and dollar dominance, might see this as a strategic move to stabilize the treasury market while reinforcing the dollar's global role in the new digital on-chain economy. Now we got this. According to Eleanor Terrett, former Fox journalist at Crypto in America, a White House official confirmed that all federal agencies must submit their cryptocurrency holdings to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent by Monday. I guess that's today. And that should have been done on yesterday or Saturday, but they didn't do it. So let's see if that number comes out this week of all of those holdings by the U.S. government. And this is breaking news right here. Attorney James Meta Lawman Murphy, who will be on stage at XRP Las Vegas to talk about what he's just done this morning. Oh, yes. Attorney James Meta Lawman Murphy sues the Department of Homeland Security to find out who Satoshi Nakamoto is based on the video that we've shared 1,000 times. We are so fortunate to have attorneys like James Murphy, John Deaton, and Jeremy Hogans of the world fighting for us. This is not a maxi move. This is about complete clarity for all investors. Thank you, James. And I want clarity. This is not a maxi thing. This is an investor issue. I want to know if I can buy Bitcoin and hold it without the threat and concern that they would reveal the Satoshis, which the Department of Homeland Security Special Agent Rana Sayad said she knows that she interviewed the 4 Satoshis. So we will see from there. This is massive, and it is clarity that everyone in this space, especially Bitcoin maxis, whether they know it or not, need to know this, because you could be blindsided at any time by that wallet of Satoshi. Ripple puts out a paper here. Now, let me tell you, you want to talk about bullish. By 2023, we're going to go from a $0.6 trillion tokenization, real world asset tokenization, where it is today, just over a half a trillion, to $19 trillion shift. That's where they see this going. Let's get into this. Oh my gracious. This is exciting. Global financial infrastructure entering a new era as tokenized assets set to surge to $19 trillion by 2033. Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, I'm feeling like McDonald's up in here. Not McDonald's, McDonald's. Yeah. Low risk adoption phase one. It says institutions tokenize familiar instruments like money market funds and bonds. That'll be the easier low hanging fruit for them. Phase two, institutional expansion, scaling into complex assets such as private credit and real estate. Phase three, market transformation. Tokenization becomes embedded in financial and non financial products. Early adopters like BlackRock, Fidelity, and JP Morgan are already operational. Already operational. Key growth enablers are regulatory clarity in the markets like EU, UAE. I just reported that the UAE are tokenizing real estate. Switzerland largely established and also expected soon in the US. Mature tech infrastructure, including wallets, custody, and platforms. Where are we getting our wallets from? Well, where do you think Google, Facebook, Instagram, what do you think all these platforms are going to provide? They're all going to provide it. Apple's going to provide a digital wallet. Everyone's going to offer a digital wallet. Strategic investments by banks and fintech and M&A. And you know what? We're already seeing that, and that's going to get even bigger. A flywheel effect is driving adoption where institutional supply and investor demand reinforce each other. Challenges like infrastructure fragmentation and regulatory divergence persist, but collaborative efforts on standards and infrastructure are helping to overcome them. The message is clear. Institutions must move beyond pilots. This is from BCG, ladies and gentlemen. They put it like this: tokenization is no longer just a concept. It's the foundation of the future of global finance. That's where we're going. Ed Greg Crypto says, looking at the chart, he could tell us where we're going. We're going to see a kangaroo kick, and it will kick the bears right in their mouth and jump so high that it will leave everyone in disbelief, leaving the target 750, 13 plus, and 27 plus all within reach. He hasn't lost any of what he sees by looking at these charts or the fundamental news. And that's got me excited too. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.